After the captain spent a few weeks designing these terrifying beauties, I thought we had to go and watch the latest movie in this longer-running franchise, Alien Romulus.
Buckle your seatbelt, Dorothy, because Kansas is going bye-bye.
Isn't that the wrong franchise?
I know. Just go with it.
H.R. Giger created an alien monster which has been terrifying cinema audiences since 1979.
The franchise has had its ups and downs over the decades. Quite a few downs, actually. I mean, have you watched Covenant and Prometheus?
Yes, the franchise did lose its way, focusing more on some weird notion of the meaning of life lately.
And don't get me started with those Aliens v Predator movies.
Okay, let's get something straight from the start. I loved the first two Alien movies. The original was a true sci-fi horror flick, while its direct sequel built on the mythos and expanded upon it.
As all sequels showed, yes, we want to see more, but we also want to see new and exciting things.
And in that respect, that's exactly what Aliens gave us. A wonderful, action-packed sci-fi thriller.
Alien 3 was a disappointment. That's because it was such a downer, eliminating everything that had been built up in Aliens. As far as I'm concerned, Alien Cubed doesn't exist.
And the last movie to portray the iconic Ellen Ripley, played by Sigourney Weaver, was Alien Resurrection.
That one was a bit crap too, if you ask me.
Well, I would disagree. It came up with a creative way of bringing Ripley back after she so depressingly died at the end of the third one, and there were a lot of good and innovative moments. Admittedly, I haven't seen it in a while, but I have good memories of that one.
The underwater sequence was pretty good, actually. It was cool to see those xenomorphs swimming.
The big human-alien hybrid at the end was really bad, though.
Yeah, okay, the ending was a disappointment. By contrast, Prometheus was ludicrous from the get-go, with characters doing utterly absurd things so the story would happen, such as it was. I couldn't believe this mess was directed by the same man who gave us the original. So, I gave up on the franchise after that. But then came Romulus, and I must admit the trailer I saw made this a very intriguing film.
Hold on, I thought you told us you didn't watch trailers.
What can I say, McCluck? I'm only a mammal. And that trailer seemed to tell us we would be going back to basics. Back to action horror sci-fi. And yes, I was mightily tempted.
So how did it fare?
While remaining spoiler-free?
Well, as spoiler-free as possible.
Okay, here we go. Let's start with the world building. Up to now, we hadn't really seen what civilian life was like in a universe dominated by the Weyland-Yutani Corporation.
Brother, it's bleak. People are forced to work in colonies controlled by that company in terribly unsafe conditions, who can change the rules on a whim, making sure workers always have to work.
A few notches above late-stage capitalism.
This sets the scene perfectly to introduce us to a group of young people, including our two protagonists, who want to find an alternative way to leave the world they're stuck on.
So full marks for giving us clear, simple motivation. Then there's that world's technology. Now, I'm going to veer away from the alien universe for a smidgen. You know the flack modern Star Trek has got with the portrayal of its technology? Like it created a prequel series to the show that started it all, where the tech is more advanced than what we saw in the original series?
Don't get me started with that show's technological inconsistency. I have to agree with McCluck here. Couldn't they just not do a prequel series if they wanted to display tech more in line with what we expect from today's sci-fi?
Well, I've often brushed that issue aside, as the appeal of using modern tech and effects to, in a way, improve on Gene's original vision was admittedly very strong. Like, I really like Pike's Enterprise from the Strange New Worlds, even though it bears no resemblance to the Enterprise Kirk will be commanding just 10 years later, chronologically speaking.
So why not do adventures after the Picard era then? That would have stopped so many complaints, not to mention all those canon-destroying creative decisions.
Listen, I agree with you. That would have made much more sense. The point I'm making here is that nice though the new available effects and the set designs on current Star Trek are, trying to remain consistent with the tech we've seen on display would have been better. But I always wondered how practical this would have been. After all, would the audience accept visuals similar to what the audience saw in the 60s, but in a show made well into the 21st century?
I would say no.
However, here with Alien Romulus, we have a movie set between Alien and Aliens chronologically speaking, i.e. movies that came out in 79 and 86 respectively. And did they modernize the look of the tech? No, they didn't. We see the same grungy CRT sci-fi look we were introduced to 45 years ago, and as far as I'm concerned, it works beautifully. It's also incredibly effective at giving us that oppressed, hopeless feeling. Again, full marks for remaining faithful to the originals.
To be honest, The grungy style of the late 70s was likely easier to remain faithful to than the bright Technicolor one for the more optimistic mid-60s.
There is that. But good to this movie looked, I feel it went in the wrong direction with way too much reliance on callbacks.
Now we're getting to the good stuff.
By good, you mean?
Bad, obviously. Now, if you're new to the franchise, these will pass you by and you'll be unaffected by them. But veteran viewers will recognize many visual beats and dialogues that come from other movies in the franchise. Things other characters have said, or will say, and have done, or will do. Some of this is okay, I guess, but others make little sense within the confines of this movie.
Why are these needed, I ask you? It's like the worst kind of nostalgia bait. We don't need to see a character say or do what a different character said or did in a different movie. This will not raise the quality of your film. If your film is good, it's not needed. And if your film is not as good, it just reminds the knowing audience of a better movie they could be watching instead.
I sure wish writers would stop doing that. It's not like we're unable to watch those old movies. It's not like they've been deleted from the archives. By all means, keep exploring existing franchises, but do give us something new within them. Something exciting that we haven't seen before. Please. Is that too much to ask?
Actually, every Alien movie features an android character, and this one's no exception. Except they did something different with that robot, bringing a new dimension to them which was new, refreshing, and exciting, proving it can be done. But they also resurrected a character from the previous movies, giving them a name that hints at yet another character. Why? If you're new to the franchise, this will mean nothing to you. And if you're not, it's just nostalgia bait for the sake of nostalgia bait.
What's worse, in my opinion, is that the actor who originally played that character passed away some years ago. Meaning, never mind any de-aging that would have been necessary, it's recreating the likeness and voice of a dead actor. That's just wrong, man.
Wouldn't it have been better to create a different character for the scene?
That's exactly my point. It's not all bad, as I pointed out before, and the director, Fede Alvarez, brings a lot of good to the film. The cinematography is great, the tension, the sense of terror also. There's even a couple of moments that do add to the lore, like an interesting and high-stakes moment dealing with the facehuggers, and a novel use of artificial gravity we hadn't seen before in the franchise.
You see? They can bring something new to the table.
They can, when they don't use the past as a crutch to carry the story forward. Sadly, they use that crutch far too often here. In many ways, it was retreating very old ground. It's like going back to a haunted house at a carnival you went to as kids. Sure, some scares are fresh. It's got a lick of paint so it looks brand new. But it's the same old, same old. It's not like when Aliens introduced so many new concepts in '86 without ever feeling the need to do beat-for-beat callbacks to Alien.
Aside from the motion detector tech.
But even that was actually an improvement over the original. Okay, not new, but still actually different and better, a reflection of how the tech had evolved over the decades between the movies. Another thing I liked a lot was how the story and the pace flowed. It was constant tension and action throughout. Some of what happened was borderline ludicrous, but the character's motivation followed a consistent line, until about 20 to 30 minutes before the end.
You mean that moment when a very odd time jump occurred?
Yeah, it was like a scene or two were removed from the final cut. 1 second the characters are in one location, and the very next they're somewhere else. Considering how well the film was structured until that point, it was jarring and threw me out of the story.
Okay, well, until then, the flow may have been good, but the story made no sense. There's a consistency to these alien stories. Egg, facehugger, xenomorph, and the movie seemed to carry us down that usual path until it didn't.
Isn't that good because it's different?
Not in this case. Okay, mild spoilers, but we jump from one xenomorph to many. It's like the story ran out of alien callbacks, so it proceeded to mine aliens from then on.
It actually diminishes the events that took place beforehand and the sacrifices that were made. Plus, that lone xenomorph is pretty much forgotten, despite the fact we'd followed its journey since its conception.
So life does begin at conception, smartass.
It's much more complicated than that for this species, Mouse, you know that.
Okay, another minor spoiler. But the space station is divided into 2 parts. It's like Romulus was alien and Remus was aliens. 2 classic movies merged into one, and the scene was so obvious it didn't work for me at all.
To be frank, we're swept away by the action and can easily miss that shift when watching the film, until you realize you're now in what looks like a set from Aliens.
But what's more jarring is the movie's last act. The link back to Prometheus is annoying to me because it's trying to shoehorn an element introduced in that movie into this one, even though it never made any sense within the alien's established life cycle. Well, I guess I could have accepted it as a mission objective in the movie or something, were it not for the ending. What we get there is true body horror, but again, it's something we've already seen, both in Prometheus and Resurrection. Yet, despite that, that sequence just felt out of place. Okay, we get a fake-out ending, not the first time this happened in an Alien movie, but unlike those other movies, the payoff felt lackluster. I know Alvarez prides himself with using practical effects, suits, and puppets and all, but I don't know, the ending just didn't feel as real as the rest of the movie, if you know what I mean. It was the worst part of the flick.
Not that surprising, considering that particular callback was to the very worst part of Resurrection. I mean, why do that to yourself? So yeah, it's definitely a mixed bag, and I think it will be enjoyed more by newcomers to the franchise than existing fans.
Well, if that's the case, why not watch the original too? If they think Romulus is good, they'd be blown away by them.
So, where does it stand when you compare it with the other movies?
That's highly subjective, GG, but from my own point of view, I agree with McCluck. I doubt anyone will ever beat the first two. Those are practically perfect movies in their own unique genres, which you can watch and enjoy right now on Disney Plus of all places. Prometheus and Covenant are down. Way down the list. Further still, more perfection. Then it's Alien 3 and Resurrection. I actually liked Resurrection better than the third one myself, and I think I'll put Romulus on par with it.
Joined third place, so not too bad.
Think of this more as a logarithmic scale, Mouse. It's far from the lofty heights of the first two. It has some good points. There's actually a lot of good when it comes to direction and atmosphere.
But there's also a lot of stuff that doesn't work, and a lot of pointless retreading of old ground for no reason. Well, aside from member berries.
Are member berries really such a draw for the box office?
They are, if you're creatively bankrupt.
Despite the faithful look, the impressive direction, the effective atmosphere, great acting, especially from the two leads, and a handful of good novel ideas, it just felt like a remix of the franchise's greatest and not-so-great hits, which was disappointing.
And the gross, terrible, messed-up ending really ruined it for me.
Sounds like they should have ended the movie 20 minutes early.
They should never have tried to legitimize the go.